The massive crystal towers of the Galactic Diplomatic Forum stretched high into the purple sky of Consensus Prime. For 3,000 years, this place had been the center of peace in the galaxy. Inside its huge halls, creatures from hundreds of different worlds came together to solve problems with talking instead of fighting. Ambassador Kim Minho walked through the giant doors of the Grand Assembly Hall. He wore his best diplomatic clothes, but his face looked sad. This would be the last time humans would sit in these halls. Around him, the usual sounds of galactic politics filled the air. The Resonance Collective made musical humming noises to talk. The insect-like Hive speakers clicked their jaws rapidly. Electronic translators worked hard to change thousands of different languages so everyone could understand each other. Humans had only been part of this important group for 150 years. That seemed like a long time to humans, but to the older alien races it was nothing. The ancient Veiltar had lived so long they remembered when stars were born. The stone-like architects thought in terms of millions of years. When humans first joined the forum, these elder races looked down on them like adults watching small children play. But humans had surprised everyone very quickly. Ambassador Park Jinwoo had been the first human to show what made his species special. There was a big fight called the Spiral Arm Territorial Dispute that had been going on for many years. Different alien groups were fighting over who owned what space territory. The fighting never seemed to end, and many beings died. Jinwoo did, something that shocked everyone. Instead of just fighting for human interests, he went to live with each group that was fighting. He spent months learning their languages, eating their food, and understanding their cultures. He listened to their fears and learned what they really needed. When Jinwoo finally spoke to the assembly, his words were simple but powerful. "You think you see enemies, but I see neighbors who are hurting," he said. His words were translated into hundreds of languages at the same time. "The Kethvar attack your colonies not because they are evil, but because their home planet is dying. The Tribune are expanding not to conquer you, but because they have too many people and not enough space." The assembly was quiet. No one had ever thought about the fighting this way before. Within 1 year, Jinwoo had created a solution that turned enemies into friends. The Kethvar got the technology they needed to fix their dying world. The Tribune got access to empty planets where their people could live. 3 whole star systems stopped fighting and started trading with each other instead. That was just the beginning of humanity's rise in galactic politics. Soon, whenever there was a big problem in the galaxy, everyone asked for human help. Ambassador. Lee Soman stopped a terrible war called the Bio Wars. 2 species had been fighting because they thought they needed different things. Somin discovered that what one species needed, the other species could provide. Instead of fighting, they could help each other. She turned their conflict into cooperation. Diplomat. Joy Daeho ended something called the Century Siege. This was a fight that had lasted for 100 years. Everyone thought it was about land and power. But Daeho realized the whole war had started because of a misunderstanding. The 2 sides had different ways of showing respect, and each thought the other was being rude. Once Daeho explained this, the 100-Year War ended in a single day. Humans became the most trusted peacemakers in the galaxy. While other species argued about old grudges and ancient rights, humans looked deeper. They tried to understand what everyone really needed. They asked questions like, "Why are you really angry and what would make you feel safe?" Instead of taking sides, they found ways for everyone to win. Humans created new ways of solving problems that had never been tried before. They made special rules for how different species should talk to each other. They built systems to stop small arguments from becoming big wars. Most importantly, humans really cared about helping everyone, not just themselves. The other alien species loved this arrangement. It made their lives much easier. When there was trouble, they could just call the humans to fix it. They didn't have to do the hard work of understanding their enemies or finding creative solutions. They could just wait for the humans to figure everything out. The elder races still acted like they were the wise leaders of the galaxy. They still talked down to humans, calling them young and inexperienced. But secretly, they had become completely dependent on human help. They had forgotten how to solve their own problems. This comfortable situation worked well for everyone, or so it seemed. The alien species got peace without effort. Humans got to help others, which made them happy. The galaxy was more peaceful than it had ever been, but the elder races had made a terrible mistake. They had grown so used to human help that they forgot how valuable it was. They treated humans like servants instead of partners. They took human wisdom for granted. Soon they would learn just how much they needed the humans they had been looking down on. And that lesson would be more painful than any of them could imagine. The terrible news spread across the galaxy like a disease. Every news channel, every communication network, every information feed carried the same horrifying story. The tender. Species was gone, all of them, dead. The tenders had been the gentlest beings in the galaxy. They were like cosmic gardeners who spent their lives growing beautiful plants and creating amazing art. Their weapons were nothing more than small tools for cutting branches. They had never hurt anyone in their entire history as a species. Their planet, Bloom's Rest, had been covered in incredible cities made of living plants and flowers. Now Bloom's Rest was a burned wasteland. Nothing was left alive. Ambassador Kim Minho stood in front of the emergency assembly of the Galactic Forum. His face was white with anger, but he kept his voice calm and controlled. Behind him, huge holographic screens showed pictures of the destruction. The images were terrible to look at. Entire cities had been bombed from space. After the bombing, enemy soldiers had come down and poisoned the ground so that nothing could ever grow there again. The hegemony has gone too far this time, Minho said, his words echoing through the giant hall. This is not a war. This is not conquest. This is the complete murder of an entire species. The Tenders never threatened anyone. Their only crime was living on a planet that the Sorok Empire wanted for themselves. In one section of the assembly, the reptile-like Sorok representatives sat perfectly still. Their faces, covered in scales, showed no emotion at all. Their leader, Supreme Commander Vextar, had already told reporters that the attack was just necessary territorial expansion. He acted like killing 1 billion innocent beings was just part of normal business. Ambassador Won Yunji walked forward, carrying a computer tablet. "We have all the proof we need," she announced. "We intercepted their secret communications. The hegemony planned this attack for months. They chose the Tenders on purpose because they knew the Tenders could not fight back. They knew no one would risk war to protect artists and gardeners." Worried whispers spread through the assembly hall. Many species felt uncomfortable hearing this. Everyone in the galaxy had loved the Tenders. They had never asked for much in trade. They would give away beautiful artwork and amazing rare plants. In exchange for simple tools and basic materials, they had been the galaxy's favorite peaceful neighbors. "What is the Forum going to do about this?" demanded Ambassador Kang Hyun. His voice was sharp with anger that he was trying to control. The ancient Veil-Tar speaker floated forward. The Veil-Tar were ghostly beings who looked like they were made of light and mist. "We must not rush into action," the speaker said in their whispering voice. "These serious accusations need to be investigated carefully." "Investigation?" Minho's voice got louder. "We have complete proof of mass murder, and you want to form a study group?" Elder Zixthara of the Architects spoke next. The Architects were beings made of living stone, who talked with voices that sounded like rocks grinding together. "Economic sanctions work well," Zixthara rumbled. "We will limit the hegemony's ability to trade with other species. We will also write strong letters condemning their actions." "Sanctions," Ambassador Yang Mira jumped up from her seat. Her hands were shaking with rage. 1 billion thinking, feeling beings are dead, and you want to punish the killers by making their shopping more difficult? The assembly exploded into loud arguments. Some species demanded immediate military action to stop the hegemony. Others wanted to try more talking and negotiation. Still others suggested stronger economic punishments. The debate went on for hours. Proposals were made, changed, argued about, and thrown away. Finally, it was time to vote. The Forum made their decision. Limited trade sanctions, an official statement saying the hegemony had done wrong, and a promise to review the situation again in 6 months. The human representatives sat in complete silence as the vote results were announced. 6 months. 1 billion innocent beings had been murdered, and the galaxy's response was to schedule another meeting. Ambassador Kim Min-ho stood up slowly. His face looked like he was attending a funeral. The entire assembly became quiet. Everyone could feel that something important was about to happen. "The Forum has made its choice," Min-ho said quietly. "Now, humanity will make its choice. We will give you one last chance to do the right thing. Either vote right now to take immediate military action against the hegemony, or humanity will leave this organization forever." The threat hit the assembly like a physical blow. Never in the 3,000-year history of the Forum had anyone made such an ultimatum. Elder Zixthara's stone voice boomed across the hall. "You cannot just leave. The Forum works through consensus and patience and careful thought. The Forum needs courage," Min-ho interrupted. "Something you seem to have lost." The final vote was called. Military intervention against the hegemony rejected. Investigation committee approved. Timeline, at least 6 months. Humanity had heard enough. Their answer would come quickly and without any ceremony at all. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when you took the peacemakers for granted. Never before had so many beings across the galaxy watched the same event at the same time. On hundreds of planets and thousands of space stations, every creature with access to news feeds stopped what they were doing. Markets closed early. Schools dismissed students. Factory workers gathered around communication screens. Everyone knew they were about to witness something that would change galactic history forever. The Forum's Grand Assembly Hall was packed tighter than anyone could remember. Every seat was filled, and crowds of beings who couldn't get inside gathered in public squares across the galaxy to watch on giant screens. The air buzzed with nervous energy and fear. Ambassador Kim Min-ho walked slowly to the speaking platform, in the center of the hall. He carried only a simple computer tablet. Behind him, all 37 human representatives from Earth and the human colonies stood together in perfect silence. Their faces were serious and sad. "Respected beings of the galaxy," Min-ho began. His voice was calm, but everyone could hear the deep sadness underneath his words. "For 150 years, humanity has been honored to serve in this forum. We have helped solve your fights, stopped your wars, and worked very hard to build friendship between peoples who seemed like they would always be enemies." The huge assembly hall became completely quiet. Even the constant humming sound of the translation machines seemed softer than usual. Thousands of alien beings held their breath, waiting for what would come next. "We did this work not because we wanted fame or money, but because we believed in what the Forum was supposed to do. We believed that smart beings could choose to work together instead of fight. We believed wisdom was better than war, and justice was more important than convenience." Ambassador Won Yunji stepped forward, holding her official diplomatic bag. "Yesterday you proved us wrong." Those words hit the assembly like a physical punch. Several alien representatives actually stepped backward in shock. Others made worried sounds in their own languages. When genocide happened right in front of everyone, when an entire peaceful civilization was wiped out completely, this organization chose paperwork over justice. You chose following procedures over doing what was right. Min-ho's voice became stronger and angrier. "The tender species died while you argued about how to write your disapproval letters correctly." Angry clicking sounds came from the insect-like Hive speakers in their section. Elder Zixthara, the stone being, began glowing. With upset emotions, "Humanity cannot just walk away from their duties." Duties. Ambassador Kang Hyun laughed, but it was a bitter, angry laugh. "We have done our duties for 150 years. We have prevented 43 wars. We have solved over 200 territory fights. We have created 17 new ways to make peace between species. And how have you thanked us? By talking down to us like we are children, by telling us to be patient while murderers go free." Won Yunji started taking things out of her diplomatic bag. She removed official documents, ceremonial objects that showed her rank, and communication devices that connected her to the Forum's systems. "Starting right now, humanity is leaving the Galactic Diplomatic Forum. We quit all our jobs, give up all our special privileges, and cut all official connections. The meaning of this hit the assembly like an earthquake. Panicked voices rose from dozens of different species, all talking at once. You cannot leave during the Proxima crisis. The trade talks with the Outer Rim need human mediators. Who will solve the resource wars? Minho raised his hand to ask for quiet. That is no longer our problem. You have made it very clear that you do not value human judgment. You prefer the old wisdom of ancient species over doing what needs to be done. Right now. Fine, solve your own problems from now on. Ambassador Yang Mira stepped forward to make the final announcement. All human trade agreements that depend on forum membership are now cancelled. All joint research projects are stopped. All human peacekeeping forces are being called back to human space. Any species that wants to keep working with humanity can contact us directly, but we will no longer work through this organization. The human delegation began walking toward the exit doors. All 37 of them moved together, like they had practiced this moment. Their footsteps echoed loudly in the shocked silence. No one else in the hall made a sound. When they reached the great doors that led out of the assembly, Minho turned around one last time to face the alien representatives. When you find the courage to actually fight for something that matters, you know where to find us. The massive doors closed behind the humans with a loud clang that seemed to echo through space itself. The sound seemed to go on forever, like the ringing of a funeral bell. For the first time in 3,000 years, the Galactic Diplomatic Forum had to face its future without humanity. The age of human patience was over. The galaxy would now learn what it was like to solve its own problems without the species they had taken for granted. And that lesson was going to be very, very painful. 6 months had passed since humanity walked away from the Galactic Forum. In that short time, the galaxy had turned into a burning nightmare. The trouble started just days after the humans left. The Proxima mining dispute had been a problem for many years, but human mediators had kept it from becoming a real war. Ambassador Lee Somin had spent countless hours talking to both sides, helping them find ways to share the valuable mining resources without fighting. Now Lee Somin was gone, and so was peace. The crystalline miners and the gas giant harvesters could not agree on anything. Within a week, their argument became a shooting war. The fighting spread like wildfire. 3 entire star systems became battlefields. Billions of beings died over rocks and gas that they could have shared. Admiral Vextar of the Saurok Empire smiled as he watched the war reports on his command ship. His reptilian face looked pleased as he studied the tactical displays showing the chaos spreading across the galaxy. The Forum was falling apart exactly as he had hoped. Supreme Commander, his assistant reported, the Outer Rim defenses have failed completely. The Gentle Builders are begging the Forum for help. Let them beg, Vextar hissed, his forked tongue flicking out to taste the air. The Forum moves as slowly as a dying slug. By the time they finish talking about maybe helping, we will own half the galaxy. The Saurok Empire and their allies in the hegemony were expanding faster than even Vextar had dreamed possible. For over a century, human peacekeepers had patrolled the neutral zones between hostile species. Human mediators had stopped small fights from becoming big wars. Now all of that was gone. The galaxy was returning to its natural state, endless competition, conquest, and chaos. On the distant human world of New Harmony, former Ambassador Wan Hyunji read the latest death reports with cold satisfaction. The human colonies had joined together, with 17 other smart species, to form something called the Independent Alliance. These were the species wise enough to leave the Forum when humanity did. The death count from the spiral wars has reached 50 billion, reported Captain Park Jisoo, her military aide. The Forum wrote another strongly worded letter yesterday. While real people die, Yunji said coldly, have our old Forum friends tried to contact us? The Veiltar sent another group asking us to come back. We sent them away without letting them land, just like you ordered. Yunji nodded approvingly. Humans had tried being patient, diplomatic and cooperative for 150 years. They had been rewarded with disrespect and inaction when genocide happened. Now the galaxy could learn what they had thrown away so carelessly. Back on Consensus Prime, the Forum was falling apart completely. The beautiful assembly hall had become a war zone of angry words. Species that had been friends for centuries now screamed accusations at each other. Ancient alliances broke apart as desperate peoples fought over the few resources still available. "Order! Order!" Elder Zixthara's stone voice boomed across the hall, but fewer beings listened every day. The Resonance Collective had locked themselves away on their homeworld. The insect-like Hive speakers were building military fortifications around their territory. Even the peaceful archive keepers, who used to share knowledge freely with everyone, had started hoarding information like treasure. The galaxy's economy was collapsing. In just 6 months, trade had dropped by 30%. Human trade networks had connected hundreds of worlds, making it easy for different species to buy and sell goods with each other. Without those connections, many planets could not get basic supplies like food and medicine. Scientific progress had almost completely stopped. Human research centers had worked together with alien scientists to make amazing discoveries. Those partnerships were gone now. Each species was trying to solve complex problems alone, problems that used to be solved by everyone working together. But the worst thing that was lost was hope itself. For many generations, younger species had looked at the Forum as proof that different peoples could work together peacefully. They had watched humans build bridges between alien minds that seemed completely different. That inspiring example was gone. Now young beings grew up believing that cooperation was impossible and fighting was the only way. In the dark spaces between stars, pirate fleets came out of hiding. For over a century, human patrol ships had hunted down these criminals and protected trade routes. Now the trade routes had become hunting grounds where pirates attacked helpless merchant ships. Refugee vessels full of families fleeing the wars found no safe places to land. Space stations that had been centers of trade and culture became armed fortresses. Planets that had welcomed visitors from other worlds now closed their borders completely. The galaxy was breaking apart into isolated, frightened pieces. The older alien species had gotten exactly what they wanted: freedom from human interference. They no longer had to listen to young humans telling them what to do. They no longer had to watch humans solve problems that the elder races could not figure out. They were finally free from humanity, and that freedom was killing them. The galaxy was learning a terrible lesson about what happened when you took the peacemakers for granted. The group of alien representatives that arrived at New Sol was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen before. Every major species in the galaxy had sent their most important leaders. Many of these beings had not spoken to each other for decades because of old grudges and pride. But now they came together, not as proud conquerors or tough negotiators, but as beggars asking for help. Elder Zixthara, the ancient stone being whose people had always looked down on humans as primitive creatures, now stood in front of humanity's simple government building. The desperation in their glowing eyes was obvious to everyone who looked at them. Next to Zixthara, the ghostly Veiltar speakers flickered with nervous energy and barely hidden shame. The musical Resonance Collective's usual beautiful harmonies were broken and ugly, showing how ashamed they felt. Ambassador Kim Minho, who was now called Director General of the Independent Alliance, met them in a plain conference room instead of the fancy ceremonial halls they expected. The message was clear. The time for empty shows and meaningless ceremonies was over. Director General, Elder Zixthara began, their voice sounding weak and powerless compared to how they used to speak. The galaxy needs your help. Needs. Director Kim Daeun, Minho's assistant, raised one eyebrow with surprise. That's an interesting way to put it. The terrible casualty reports were spread out on the table between the humans and aliens like evidence in a murder trial. 200 billion beings had died in the past year. 73 star systems were now controlled by the evil hegemony. The galaxy's economy was about to collapse completely. Speaker Veltran of the Veiltar floated forward. Their normally bright, ghostly form looked dim and faded with humiliation. We were wrong about humanity's role in the galaxy, about the Forum's way of doing things, about everything. Were you really wrong? Minho's voice was carefully neutral, showing no emotion. Or were you just comfortable letting other people do all the hard work while you pretended to be wise by doing nothing? The alien delegation shifted uncomfortably. These were beings who were used to everyone treating them with great respect, like they were the wise elder statesmen of the galaxy. Now they had to face the representatives of a species they had dismissed as children. They were being forced to admit that those children had been holding their entire civilization together. "The Forum is ready to offer humanity full senior partnership," announced High Coordinator Thexvar of the Commerce Guild. Desperation made their normally smooth mechanical voice crack and break. "Equal voting rights, expanded territory recognition, special trade status." "We already have all those things," Director Wanjion interrupted. "The Independent Alliance gives us everything you're offering, but without the endless paperwork and moral cowardice." The truth hung in the air between them like a sharp sword. The Independent Alliance had grown to include over 200 member species. All of them had been attracted by humanity's proven ability to solve conflicts and create real cooperation instead of just peaceful coexistence. The Alliance's economy was growing rapidly, their scientific research was advancing quickly, and their borders were completely secure. Elder Zixthara's massive stone form seemed to shrink and become smaller. "Then, what do you want from us?" For the first time since the meeting began, Minho's serious expression became slightly softer. "What we have always wanted. Justice, courage, the willingness to act when action is needed, not just when it's convenient or easy." The alien representatives looked at each other with confusion and growing fear. They had come expecting to negotiate, to offer bribes and special deals to get humanity back. They had not expected to be told that what humans wanted could not be bought or traded. "The hegemony expansion," one delegate began desperately. "Will be stopped," Director Kim Mira said firmly, "but not by the Forum. The Alliance fleet is already moving to free the occupied systems. We will not ask for permission, form study committees or schedule hearings. We will simply do what is right." The alien delegates looked at each other with pure panic. Humanity's military power had grown enormously since leaving the Forum. The Alliance included species that brought their own advanced technologies and fighting tactics. More importantly, they had the will to use their strength for moral purposes, something the Forum had lost long ago. "You are dissolving the Forum," Speaker Veltran whispered, finally understanding what was really happening. "The Forum dissolved itself," Minho replied calmly. "The moment you chose following procedures over protecting people, paperwork over principles. We are simply building something better to replace it." He stood up, showing that the meeting was ending. "Any species that wants to join the Alliance is welcome to apply. We judge applications based on actions, not age or ancestry, on character, not ancient claims to wisdom, on what you contribute to the common good, not what you demand. For yourselves." As the defeated delegation prepared to leave, Minho offered one final observation. "You ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years through wisdom you claim to have earned over long ages. In the end, that wisdom could not match a simple human truth. When someone needs help, you help them. When someone commits evil, you stop them. When you promise to do something, you do it." The galaxy had learned its lesson, but the price had been terrible.